Jai Gurudev. So if we could begin with the first slide. I think we are all extremely grateful every moment of our life for our beloved Maharshi, who has come out of the Valley of the Saints in the Himalayas to bring the total enlightenment of Gurudev to every corner of the world and change the whole history of the world. Looking at this year, I think one of the great developments is this visit of President Xi Jinping of China to Delhi to meet Prime Minister Dr. Narendra Modi. He announced while he was there that he had been reading Vedic literature since he was a young man. He was a great student of everything about India. And he announced to the world that as far as he was concerned, that yoga and Tai Chi are the same, and Ayurveda and Chinese traditional medicine are the same. And he said that actually we have now agreed to exchanges between our two ancient civilizations based upon the humanistic spirit of the great sages of both nations. And this is coming from the President of China speaking about the reality of Vedic wisdom and its unity with the ancient Chinese wisdom. While he was there in his speech, he said that the tradition in the sages of China of universal peace and universal love was just the same as, and he said this in Sanskrit, the Chinese president, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is my family, from the voice of the President of China. Dr. Modi made a return visit to China, and here he is with President Xi at the giant wild goose pagoda in Xi'an. This is the meeting point of India and China in China, because in the 7th century AD, a famous monk, Xuanzang of China, he walked through the desert and through the Hindu Kush mountains to India to find out about the teachings of Lord Buddha completely. He was there for 17 years, had a guru there, became enlightened, and then he carried back to China all of the books of Buddhism that he could carry on his back. He met the Emperor of China when he returned, and the Emperor agreed to have all these books translated into Chinese and to build this giant wild goose pagoda for the preservation of this Buddhist teaching in both Chinese and Sanskrit or Prakrit languages. And the building was even designed according to both the tradition of Chinese architecture and Indian architecture, and I think Maharaja would appreciate that it was built by the Buddhist group there in Xi'an called the Consciousness Only Buddhist sect. So this was the reality. And so here we have the two most ancient civilizations and the two largest nations of the world, almost getting close to half the population of the world, uniting on the level of supreme wisdom. It's a very significant thing, and the message that Raja Stephen gave earlier of President Yan of the Polis International College in Chengdu, he with Professor Zhu, the national director, and Li Juan, his wife, and he is Professor Zhu in Chengdu at the Polis International. It's very much easier now for everyone in China to take advantage of the supreme Vedic wisdom after the statements of President Xi Jinping. It's a huge change in the destiny of China that he said those words while he was in Delhi. And now we have the visit of President Yan to stay for, as Raja Stephen said, 6 months or more in Fairfield and just become completely absorbed in all of Maharshi's teaching, and then build a Vastu campus next to her existing campus, all yogic flyers for the invincibility of China. So this is an amazing change in the world. Also, the head of Southern Taoism, Master Zhang in China, is a graduate of Maharishi University of Management. And it is his aspiration to give this building to MUM. And he's working on it with John Littman, one of the great Vastu architects, to make it completely Vastu compliant. And the idea is that they will build this building in China and then dismantle it and send it in containers to Fairfield, and it will be reconstructed there as the Center for Asian and American Studies on campus. Another great development of this year was the visit of Dr. Hatoyama, the former Prime Minister of Japan. He's a very famous Japanese man, and his family is like the Kennedys in the US, a long tradition of leadership of the nation. We offered him the honorary doctorate, and when he spoke to everyone there, he was appreciating the consciousness-based education students he saw in the award ceremony. He said they were just fantastic, was the word he used. And he was very deeply inspired by everything that is happening there. He said he came because when I met him in Tokyo, I said all these wonderful things about consciousness-based education and about MUM and Maharishi Vedic City, and he wanted to come and check it out, he said, and see if what I was saying was true. And he found it's true. And he said that because of Maharishi's teaching of transcendental meditation, which he's been practicing with his wife, Miyuki on the left there, for the last 26 years, taught by a graduate of MUM, Dr. Suzuki-san, because of that, he said he's had an exceptionally happy family life throughout his time. And he said since he learned TM, he always kept a picture of Maharishi in his pocket. So he said, in that way, I always feel very close to Maharishi. And so when he met President Obama, for example, he had Maharishi in his pocket. He visited all parts of the university, and this is one interesting thing he saw, which is the Maharishi Vedic Pandits reciting to the plants in the Maharishi Vedic Organic Greenhouse in Maharishi Vedic City. Here are all the plants, and Mrs. Hatoyama is thrilled because she is a cook, chef, and has a TV program on cooking. So she was amazed to find that Maharishi had even brought food to a completely different and higher level there with Raja Win and Dr. Maureen Win, of course. But the whole feeling there in that environment is really quite special. It's the first place on earth where more than 7,000, in fact 7,830 people flew together one evening in the end of 1983 with Maharishi there. And the atmosphere, because of that, the purity, the holiness of this place and of the Golden Domes is really something that deeply affects people when they come. When Mrs. Hatoyama heard the experience of the yogic flyers in Maharishi Patanjali Golden Dome, she started weeping because the effect it is having on their high experiences so phenomenal, as well as the peace that they are generating. So the Hatoyamas deeply moved by this. And by the way, now Golden Domes have new roofs just in the last months, a $460,000 project. But also, one of our local teams, graduates of MUM, Ideal Energy, both graduates, Troy Van Beek and Amy Greenfield, have installed the solar panels in front of the Golden Dome. They were invited to come to the Paris conference to speak there because of their huge efforts to bring solar energy to the whole Fairfield community. It's spreading very rapidly. In fact, Iowa now has 30% of its energy from alternative sources, mostly wind, but increasing solar power also, as well as the younger farmers shifting over from the old chemical systems to more sustainable systems. And our Sustainable Living Department of the university is in touch with all these leaders who are transforming Iowa. New York Times recently wrote a whole article about how Iowa is being transformed on that level. We had also solar panels, by the way, in Japan on a very big scale. This is a graduate of Maharishi University of Management, Morihiro Machida-san, signing the agreement with a big Japanese company to install on land that Maharishi purchased in Kyoto 22 hectares of solar panels. This is right in Kyoto on what was formerly a golf course. And here they are, and it's producing 9.9 megawatts of power. This came about because of Mr. Edano, the former Minister of Industry and Technology of Japan. He was the spokesman of the Japanese government during the Fukushima crisis, which deeply shook the whole of Japan because of the fear of nuclear pollution over the whole country. It was proposed to him, Mr. Edano also has been meditating for 26 years, and it was suggested to him by another meditator, vice minister in the ministry, that it would be good to offer a very high price for solar power in Japan, 42 yen per kilowatt hour, which is about 6 times what we pay for electricity in the United States. The idea being that people would be attracted to develop many solar parks and take away dependence on nuclear power. And it's worked. And he said when Richie Quinn, one of our great leaders in the US, was visiting him recently, he said he was very proud of that policy that was created to support solar power for all of Japan. And he was especially proud as a practitioner of TM that because of that, the revenues from the solar peace park in Kyoto that I was just showing will now go to India to the Maharishi Vedic pundits. And I believe that probably after tax, somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 a year will go. But also a second solar park is being developed in Nasu near our academy that could produce even more than that, perhaps up to $700,000 after tax. So this will mean that Japan, through solar energy, is creating peace in the world through the Maharishi Vedic pundits in India. We also recently had the visit of a delegation from Bali, and Roger William mentioned, here they are, there were 9 of them. Here they are in the Sustainable Living Building, with the greenest college campus building in America. And here they are presenting their statue of Garuda, Lord Vishnu and Garuda, that's carved in wood, which is very popular in Bali. And they were so deeply impressed by what they saw there. This man is the head of the foundation of the Vamadeva University. Behind is the head of a fantastic school in Singaraja in the north of Bali, who has already introduced TM to all his kids, and they're going to start the cities soon. But they were so impressed, and also the Minister of Education was one of these people who was there for Bali. And at the end she turned, she's very soft, very dear person, a lady. She turned and said, I'm going to bring the governor of Bali to MUM because he has to see this, and then he'll be convinced to introduce consciousness-based education to the whole of Bali. One of the very impressive things that people encounter when they're at Maharishi University of Management is the absolute brilliance of the faculty, both in terms of their own academic disciplines and really their mastery of Maharishi Vedic science over 30, 35, 40 years. And the university has been very lucky that Maharajaji has been working with the mathematics faculty to bring out the International Journal of Mathematics and Consciousness, which he's written the introduction and the first article, which is to demonstrate that consciousness alone is neha nanasti kinchana. There is nothing other than consciousness. And looking at consciousness from the perspective of the functions of mathematics, it's possible to see everything that there is in the universe, and all the 7 states of consciousness, all the laws of nature of the Veda and the constitution of the universe are all mathematical structures of consciousness itself. So Maharaja's guidance of the faculty in this way and inspiration inspiration to them has been a huge thing to uplift all the faculty. And now, as was mentioned, after silence, Maharaj is going to offer a course for those of us who are here with him in Meru, in the international capital of the global country of world peace, and we are going to really enjoy the unfoldment of the mathematics of consciousness, and it will be recorded and made into a course for the whole world. I wanted to also tell you that one of the great things about the effect of Maharshi's knowledge, and as it's exemplified in every imaginable dimension in Maharshi University of Management, Maharshi Vedic City, and the whole community there, is the effect on the visitors. The young man in the middle of this picture was mentioned by Raja Stephen, Choigal Rinpoche. He's a Tibetan monk, and he lives in Nepal, but he is a person chosen at the age of 1 to become a Buddhist Lama by another Lama, and by the age of 5 he was already living in the monastery. While he was there, he was found in China, by the way. That was the thing. Some of our Chinese students of MUM met him in Beijing and sort of dragged him to MUM. I don't think he took much dragging, but he came. Here he is with the children. And while he was there, Dr. Peter Freund, the great Vedic scholar, taught him transcendental meditation. Now, all through his life, he's been practicing an intense concentration technique in Buddhism, involving visualization of devatas. And he learned TM, and then he had his brainwaves tested by Dr. Travis. And during the Buddhist concentration technique, there was very intense gamma waves, very fast waves. And then when he would practice his transcendental meditation, the 8 to 10 hertz alpha waves that are characteristic of silence, of restfulness, of the deepest relaxation of the mind and the holistic functioning of the mind, because those alpha waves are coherent all over the brain and especially in the front of the brain. He went and witnessed a yogic flying demonstration in the Golden Dome, and Maharishi Patanjali, he said, "This is the most blissful building in the world." That was his experience. And he meditated himself in there. And he had lived for 3 years up near Mount Kailash in the Himalayas in Tibet, and doing his meditation there. And he said there's a lot of silence up there on the Himalayan plateau, but the silence that is there in the Golden Domes and in the community there is as intense, but of a different kind, namely a silence that is full of liveliness within it, which of course is Maharshi's definition of the number one experience that is happening for the Invincible America Assembly and others there. And now it's gone back, as Raja Kingsley showed. This is the Vastu school in Nepal, and Choigal Rinpoche has already visited some of the schools there, or a school there, and interested in what to do to implement Maharshi's programs for the Buddhist monks of Nepal. So it's going to be great. Maharshi had given a lot of attention to the Buddhist leaders of the world, including when we were with him in Beijing in 1982. He met a Buddhist abbot there. But this is him with the Shankara, or leader of all the Buddhists of Thailand. And I think what we are seeing is there's a great opportunity now that within the world of the Buddhist people in so many countries, that there will be a very great introduction of Maharshi's knowledge to bring relief to them. That this is the leader for the program of the Buddhist monks in Thailand and also in Sri Lanka. That is the Reverend Koji Oshima from Japan. And this is his headquarters near Bangkok that the Japanese meditators built for him, Vastu. And for the kids, it's just such a phenomenon, because concentration is very difficult and quite unpleasant. So now they have effortless practice, easy practice. In this yoga, no effort is lost and no obstacle exists. Even a little of this dharma delivers from great fear. So says Lord Krishna to Arjuna, just before he teaches him to transcend. One of the monks who've learned in Thailand, 70 years of age, a great scholar of Buddhist scripture. He was lecturing throughout his life, and Then he learned TM, and after his first day of checking, he came to Reverend Oshima and he said, "Now I actually understand all the things I've been talking about all these years." So I think there's a great chance for this to happen in Nepal. Mongolia has a great friend of Maharaja. He's the second chief Lama of Mongolia. He would be ready, I think. And in China, in Taiwan, in Japan. And this is the school of our Buddhist nun, Dhammajarani School in near Bangkok. And they've just completing their dormitory, which will allow them to raise their numbers to 1,000. I think there are about 700 now, or 600 now, and 370 as siddhas. And before they were always too nervous to go to any competition. Now they win all the competitions for memory and chanting. And this is their yogic flying practice. This is one of the princesses of Thailand giving the award to one of our dear students who had won the prize. And our Acharya, the principal, has had all the faculty now learn the siddhis. This was with Vasantaji, the legendary city administrator for Southeast Asia, and she is there. She has given instruction to all of the teachers of the Dhammajarani school. We mentioned earlier when Raja Luis was speaking that Ashokji came to visit us. He gave us all shawls when we were there. This is at the Raj. And very dear soul, beloved of us there in that community. And he came to bring the two senior people of his organization to become completely convinced that Maharshi's programs are what they need to do in India. So some weeks later, he left the world. He knew that he was going to leave the world pretty soon, but he made that long journey to America in order to make sure that the leaders, some of whom are pictured here, would get the point. And they did. And they invited Raja Luis, as I mentioned, to sit right on the stage in front of 7,000 people because they knew that Raja Luis had been a great, great friend to Ashokji and had helped him to really understand the significance of Maharshi's offerings. Ashokji told us when he was there that it was when he first came here to Vlodrop and met Maharshi, Maharshi met him for 28 straight hours. So Maharshi obviously saw quite a big significance in him. The final stroke for the visitors, these new leaders of that organization, was when they visited the computer science students. They visited everything in the community, but we have 400 Masters of Science and Computer Science students from all over the world. And so our two leaders from that VHP organization came into the classroom and asked them, "What is your experience with transcendental meditation?" And one from India spoke, one from Tunisia, one from Bangladesh. And they said things like, they're all computer professionals before they come. They said, before I came, I used to stay up till 1 a.m. every night. I barely ate. I lived on coffee. I had no life. Now I practice transcendental meditation. I have a balanced life. I rest. I find that the solutions to the problems that I have in my programming, after I practice my TM, they come spontaneously into my mind. The man from Tunisia, who's Arab and Muslim, he went on so long, he wouldn't stop talking about all the glories of transcendental meditation. So by the end of it, these two visitors were just so amazed, and the senior-most one turned to me and he said, "What Maharshi has created is a miracle." So this is the effect that is being had. So these are our credible computer science students. I wanted to congratulate again, we heard already from Raja Chancellor about the Global Capital of World Peace in West Virginia. What an amazing effort that has been put forward by Raja Chancellor, by Raja Raphael, by the Purusha architects, and by all the Purusha to build this place. 128 Vastu rooms, 29 for guests, 99 for Purusha, about 90 Purusha there. And I wanted to emphasize that this is so important to America, because the numbers of Maharishi Vedic pundits have dropped a lot, way down to only about 56 at this point, and there's a great need for coherence in America, especially with the presidential election approaching. This campus is only 90 miles from Washington, D.C., and the purity of the consciousness and the power of the coherence creation of this group of Purusha is so important in Washington, D.C. I think that has really helped so much. And they're very proud of their new road. Before it was all dust and gravel, and the new flying hall coming. And I wanted to thank Maharajaji very much for taking care of the Purusha so beautifully. This is the Advanced Maharishi Vedic Science course Raja Chancellor showed in Maharishi Vedic City. And now I think the vast majority of all the Purusha have taken this incredible course, and it just, I cannot tell you the exhilaration of Purusha sitting with Maharaja for that course. It's unbelievable. And of course, from high in the Himalayas, in their campuses there, our Purusha are blessing the whole world. And the Mother Divine in Maharishi Vedic City and Livingston Manor and in High Bloom and in Chantaburi are blessing. Here are some of the dear students, girl students of MUM at the Maharishi Vedic City campus of Mother Divine. So they are really gaining so much from their contact with the blessed Mother Divine people. Here is Maharaja and Velia also offering Ramayan in Human Physiology to His Excellency Pranab Mukherjee, who is the President of India. This was directly at Rashtrapati Bhavan, the presidential palace. Maharaja had already offered to a previous president of India the Veda and Vedic Literature and Human Physiology book, and now here he is offering this incredible work. And as it turns out, although Pranab Mukherjee is from the other party, the Congress party, not from the present ruling party, he is a Brahmin and he does pujas, and he was thrilled to receive this. And at the end of all of this, he just said, he exhorted us, he said, just do it, give this to the whole of India, just do it. So it was a very, very moving moment. And of course, in the conference, I would emphasize, Maharaja was so inspiring to everyone. Here he is with our Maharishi Vedic pundits. This is the most famous Hatha Yogi of India. And he seemed to know all of us, but especially he knows Maharaja. He has a TV program with like 3 million people doing asanas. And he was one of the ones who said, now we realize that Maharshi did what nobody else ever did in the history of India. And now is our time to do it, to take advantage of the supreme gifts of His Holiness Maharshi Mahesh Yogi. The Minister of Science and Technology of India was there, Dr. Harshvardhan, and here he is receiving all the books from Maharajaji. And to give you an idea of the effect of this conference, Dr. Harshvardhan said to everyone, about 600 delegates there, he said that you should consider my ministry to be your ministry. Because there is Raja Hegland, who's also Minister of Science and Technology of the world, and he said, and you should just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. This is a minister of all of India. And Swami Govinda Dev Giri, garlanding Raja Luis, who these two together, along with Swami Brahmadev, have been the key organizers for this conference, which has really brought enormous fulfillment to India just by having it. But now, as Raja Luis mentioned, so many of these swamis have huge school systems, and there's a chance now to introduce to hundreds of thousands of children Maharshi's programs through those channels. And this is the book that is being now printed in Delhi. Raja Chancellor is organizing. So this is the summary of all the different values of all the speeches, all the pictures. Everything is in there, including Maharaja's speech, of course, Raja Hegland, and everything is in there. This would be a great book to have. And I want to also thank Maharajaji for his involvement in that international conference on Ayurveda that Dr. Pisha and others have organized, and mentioned that after hearing Maharaja speak, Dr. Devendra Triguna on the left there, the son of Rajvaja Brihaspati Dev Triguna, announced to everyone that he has 400,000 Vaidya's in the organization All India Ayurveda Congress. That is the organization he's president of, and he wants them all to learn Maharshi Ayurveda. So this was an incredible fulfillment of that. I also want to thank so much everyone, Raja Harris and all the Ambassador Resource Office and all the donors for Ati Rudra Abhishek every day, and wish that 2016 will see 2 more Ati Rudra Abhisheks beginning. And then so many of the problems of the world will just disappear. And we're thankful so much to Brad Cook and the other families. Raja Vikram also is an enormous supporter of everything to do with global coherence with Varaporn, and all of the families who are supporting Ati Rudra Abhishek and the Brahmastan of India. It's really great. And Dr. Neil Patterson and Brad and also Mark McCooey are also doing very close checking of what's happening in all the different locations throughout India and in Nepal. So we have great confidence in the efficiency of the operation to create global coherence. So here is that gathering of all the amazing Maharshi Vedic Pandits. I should stop, but I just wanted to mention that this is a wonderful thing that is happening in Johannesburg. This is Maharshi Invincibility Institute. It is now we're having 700 students, and about 200 of them are siddhas, and all of the rest are meditators. And what is interesting, this building was donated to us by the Anglo-American Mining Corporation. And this was because Johannesburg had become the #1 big city murder capital of the world. And then over the years, we used this building for our group cities practice and group practice of transcendental meditation of our students there. This is a sister institution of MUM. MUM teaches a lot of the courses there. So what happened was that the murder rate in Johannesburg started dropping. And then it dropped out of even the top 50 murder capitals of the world. And at that point, the Anglo-American Mining Corporation said they wanted their building back. It went to court, and we won. So we get to keep this 9-story building in the heart of this biggest, most important city of the whole of Africa. And what has changed is that now the new president of the Anglo-American Mining Corporation, it's like a multi-billion-dollar corporation, is a lady who actually now has learned transcendental meditation and has become one of the greatest supporters of the Maharshi Invincibility Institute. So that's a big change that has happened. Here are the kids graduating most recently. Taddy Bletcher, who is really the powerhouse of this, along with Dr. Richard Piker, he on the left in the red, and with the students. And you can imagine the pride of the parents of these kids graduating from college, because none of them ever would have gone to college, except this institution is totally sponsored by major foundations and corporations in South Africa and other places as well. So they get to go for free, and now the result has been they are applying for jobs with big South African corporations. 2 of them have gone to MUM for their MBA, but the others have applied to big international corporations in South Africa. And the story that Dr. Bletcher tells, recently there were 9 of them who wanted to work for a famous international accounting and finance company that has headquarters for Africa in Johannesburg. And the man who was to interview them said he didn't want to do it. Didn't have an interest, but he did it, and he said by the end of the day of interviewing the graduates, this was the best day of his working life ever. And at 4 o'clock the next morning, he got up and wrote to the president of the company, and he said, we should hire all 9. They only were going to hire 21 altogether, and now this time around, out of 21, they hired 17 of the MII graduates. over the top of Witwatersrand and all the famous universities of South Africa, because according to the leaders of this corporation, they consider the MII graduates head and shoulders above the graduates of all the famous universities of South Africa. And now they've come, and another big corporation, they're coming to the campus to recruit when they're juniors and getting them to come and do internships so they can kind of line them up to join their company. That's how happy and proud they are of these graduates. It's an incredible atmosphere there, the support of all the students for each other, the bliss in the atmosphere. It's just an amazing achievement in South Africa. And here is Dominique and the latest cities course that happened, new cities course, and they go out to our property Esenvelo for their flying also, and that was also challenged, our ownership of the 3,000 hectares there, and we won that also, so we get to keep that as well. President Chisano here with Raja Luis, through the great constant attention of Raja Luis, has finally gotten permission to build the Maharshi Invincibility School of Mozambique. How is it going? Is it going up?
2016, Prime Minister has to come there, so we take over the building. Not to inaugurate the building, but
as long as you take me there. Okay.
We'll go together.
Okay, very good. And congratulations to Roger Stanley and Joe and Breda for the amazing building, Vastu building. I was there for the first course of that. Everyone should have a taste of Inishraha, the Maharshi Island of World Peace. And when they go by in the boats now, the tour boats for Klu Bay, it's right underneath Croagh Patrick, the holy mountain of St. Patrick. The tour guide says, and here is Maharshi's island where he's creating peace for the world. So it's part of the tour. And also congratulations to Rajapita and all the British leadership for the building of the Maharshi Peace Palace that Aikiji mentioned yesterday, that's going up with 30 bedrooms and big yogic flying halls and office to join in. And to just show the whole world, it's just amazing. In the Solomon Islands, this is one class out of a whole school in Honiara on Guadalcanal. And here the teacher, Amanda McIntosh, and one of the girls, the kids love it so much, and 2 more schools are now begging to have it begin. Dr. Sama, the Dean of the College of Maharshi Vedic Science, who worked closely with Maharaja and with Acharya Gopal Krishna Daveji and with Maharshi on different books. He has published a book on Maharshi's yoga that's all about Maharshi's correction of all the misunderstandings about what is yoga. There is a new book now, The Unmanifest Canvas, that is Maharshi on arts, creativity, and perception, that is now available in the MUM Press. But above all, just in the last days, I'll hold it up also, this is the new edition of Bhagavad Gita. This is the hardback, there's also a softback, it's gilded on the side, and it's very valuable to the world because, first of all, it has corrected all the mistakes in the Penguin edition, which was very poorly fuzzy. Now the printing is very, very clear, and they've added also in the Sanskrit, then they have the transliteration of the Sanskrit, and then the translation. So now you can read Yoga Star Kuruk, you can read it through like that. And also there is a 45-page index in the back, which allows you to look up any topic that Maharshi speaks about or Lord Krishna speaks about and find it in multiple locations in the book. Also, the websites for the whole world movement are there. I think 85 countries' websites, and so many other websites of Maharshi University of Management, Maharshi Ayurveda, Maharshi Stapachya. It's all there. So this is a very nice thing that is available now for everyone to have a new copy. And so much research has been mentioned by Raja Michael, but here are some others that come out from Dr. Nidich. This are the high school students in America who are practicing TM, increased resilience, decreased anxiety. These are published. Decreased teacher burnout, submitted for publication in Resilience in Teachers. And now they've published a study on reduced stress in family caregivers. People who have to look after people with dementia, they are really suffering a tremendous stress. So now a lot of the nurses and family members have been taught, and this has been published, and decreased depression in family caregivers, increased spiritual well-being in family caregivers. And I won't read this, time having passed long before, but there's a great experience of these family caregivers. Also in Oregon, decreased trauma symptoms in the inmates at the Coffee Creek and Salem institutions, where it had been supported by the David Lynch Foundation. Amazing experiences of inner freedom coming for them. Rajapita Warburton is also doing a wonderful job presenting total knowledge. Maharshi worked on charts with him, summarizing total knowledge, and wherever he teaches this course with the charts Maharshi guided him on, it's really deeply appreciated. And I think it's so great for us to always know when so much negative news is published in the media, how many amazing things are happening in the world. We've already heard about it yesterday from Dr. Peter Swan. We heard about it at Guru Purnima from Raja Babla Pinto. But so many changes, particularly less people living in extreme poverty than ever before, and massive reductions in the amount of violence and death due to war in the world. But every dimension of life, since Maharshi came to start teaching, has gone in a very, very positive direction, and the press doesn't like to think about that. They don't consider it sensational enough, but it's a fact that there's amazing positive change in the world. And with all that Raja Luis is doing and gathering groups of 5,000 students in different places to practice together, we can only expect that this year, 2016, will be the most glorious year of human advancement ever. Overall, I would say that we have to think that everything that Maharshi predicted in these last 2 days we've seen coming true. Don't you think? We're really seeing, it's really, as Maharaja himself said, it's really happening in the world more and more. It's an incredible thing. And I'll finish by saying that Maharshi had said when he inaugurated the Golden Dome in 1979, before there was a roof, sitting outside in minus 8 degrees Celsius, he said, this building is going to bear great fruit for the whole world. And everywhere where there's group practice, this is the phenomenon. A great fruit is being created for the whole world. So here are a few of the experiences of the Invincible America Assembly happening in the Golden Domes and in Maharshi Vedic City. When I was meditating, I became aware of a deep blanket of softness that gradually enveloped the whole room. It was tender and gentle and immensely calming. My mind settled down into the tenderness. After a while, an incredible blue light appeared and spread across my inner vision. I have never seen such a beautiful color. As it enveloped my whole being, I became aware of millions of golden points embedded in the blue. The color became so intense, my heart swelled in love for it. I wanted it to go on forever. Another experience. I've come to realize of late that there is no me doing my program. Rather, I am, capital letters, my program. I cannot differentiate myself from the crystal clarity, the utter transparency of Atman. I do not feel that the individual self is there at all. There is nothing anywhere but this unbelievable clarity of self, this endless transparency of self, this unspeakable wholeness of self. It engulfs everything else completely and effortlessly. Another person says, my body instantaneously became super light and airy, and then the body felt super soft, calm, quiet, peaceful, and super fluid when it moved. And then I felt as if it was beyond refined breathing or cessation of breathing. I felt that Brahm was breathing me. Another one. A few days ago, while flying in the ring, I had the experience of complete and utter peace, stillness, while hopping around. I was hopping behind another flyer, and we were in complete sync with each other. Flying together, the experience was of moving with zero effort. The body had no weight to it and simply moves as if mirroring the person in front. It was as if we were both surfing on the same wave, and it was the wave that was moving us. And finally, it's a visitor from Sweden. When arriving in Cedar Rapids, I felt all the 5 times I've been here that I'm coming closer to a heavenly atmosphere. And as I come nearer Fairfield, that feeling becomes stronger. Then, and she's talking to all the people on the Invincible America Assembly in the experience session in the morning. She said, then meeting with all you adorable people who express so much friendliness, love, and care feels like heaven has already descended here. I walk into the dome, sit down, close my eyes, and start doing absolutely nothing, except thinking a few lovely thoughts that seem to go on by themselves and that make me transcend and experience blissful stillness. Then I start to hop up and down out of pure joy, which creates more energy and more bliss. So I just want to show as the ending pictures. This is our campus, Iowa. But I want to just show Maharshi and Gurudev what an infinite blessing of this age that Maharshi came to enlighten the world and bring Ram Raj, heaven on earth. And Maharshi, we are so grateful to you every single day of our lives. And the whole world will soon know what you have done to relieve the suffering of the whole human race. And you have represented the perfection of your Master Gurudev in just the supreme way it could ever be done, and we have been blessed. And we are amazed that we got born at this time to be part of all. Jai Gurudev. So I think that's it.
Jai Gurudev. Beautiful waves of celebration of wholeness on the move. Thank you all for sharing these achievements, and it would be good to make maybe some documentary a little bit about all of the great things happening, maybe 15 even 20 minutes, something where we show pictures and small ideas like that, and put it, and give it to Joachim. Yeah, but we can all use it everywhere. It's beautiful because it's really happening. And this enveloping all around feeling that Prime Minister brought with knowledge and experience and going around the world, and all the great achievements in every nation, and the great success of the campaigns, beautifully done by Joachim and his team, really. And we'll hear from Global Marketing Group also, but Joachim has been really a great hero with his great team, and everybody appreciates the usefulness and usefulness and the dynamism of all that is happening. So the year is ending on a note of great fulfillment, and we really never feel that we can do enough to offer to the holy tradition and to Maharshi particularly as an embodiment of the total holy tradition for us enough, but we feel somewhat he is making it happen, and we are rejoicing in all the alertness of everyone being involved. It's really also a sense of Maharshi's continuity and continuing through us all and through everyone who so beautifully dedicated, wholehearted simple devotion and desire to just do the best for the whole world, just that sattva that is really winning the day. Because even though the knowledge is here, somehow everyone can be really thanked and can enjoy the fullness of their achievements, because it really needs an instrument to let this happen. Nature is all powerful, and if we are not the instrument, nature will choose some other instrument, but it seems we're doing all right. So we stay in that beautiful, peaceful, blissful feeling of openness and devotion, and close the year on a great note of fulfillment. It's beautiful. I remember being in Ukraine with Prime Minister, having gone through all kinds of -30s and having I had a terrible cold and a kind of like a temperature, very high temperature. The temperature outside was -40, I had about 40 plus. And then Maharshi called, and I just sat there and listened. Maharshi spoke, and just so, when you are a little feverish, you are quiet. And he spoke and spoke and spoke, and I started to feel better and better and better. And then I told Prime Minister, I feel completely, I checked my pulse, it was completely gone, everything's gone. And Prime Minister told Maharshi, you remember that?
Yes.
He told Maharshi, now he feels great and he's feeling very good listening to Maharshi. And Maharshi responded, Vedic sounds.
Beautiful.
So we want to hear the Vedic sounds, Maharshi's speech.
Very nice.
So have a great program, and we meet in the evening and start silence. Congratulations to everyone. Jai Gurudev.
Maharaj Adiraj Rajaram Vijayante Taram Gurudev Brahmananda Saraswati Vijayante Taram. His Holiness Maharshi Maheshogi always saying Jai Gurudev Vijayante Taram. Maharshi Vedic Vishwaprashasanam Vijayante Taram. Maharshi Vishwavyapi Ram Raj Vijayante Taram. Maharshi Vishwashanti Rashtra Vijayante Taram. Jai Gurudev.
Heaven is descending, descending on the earth. Heaven is descending, descending on the earth. Heaven on earth, heaven on earth, heaven on earth. Heaven is descending, descending on on the earth. In God's way